I want to show you now how to create a very simple animation. I prepared this dance 2 animation, but I want to create this now with you to show you how the rig really works and how it is simple and how you can manage to create like a very quick and cool animation. So let's turn on the bones. Let's keep the images not clickable because we don't need it. As I like to do, this is not the standard layout. It depends on the character. If I have like a very vertical character, usually I work with this part full with the viewport, and I put my graph and my dope sheet on this side so I can see better how my character is being animated. But this is up to you. This is totally personal. I change my interface all the time. I have my selection set on the key number 1. So when I press it, it selects all the bones. And I like to key all the bones like at the frame 0 with all the transforms except for the shear. And from here, copy this. And let's say we will create like a 1 second loop. So I paste it there. And then after that, I turn my interpolation to Bezier. Working that way, any key that I create in the middle, like this for example, it will have already like a Bezier applied to it. So I will not have like linear. That's why I start doing that from the beginning. I will not start with the rotation. So let's delete it. Since we are creating like a dance, let's start with scale. I will add a little bit of scale here. Maybe it's too slow. Not maybe, it is too slow. So let's make this half. Since I am 50 here, maybe 8 is a good number. I will copy this. That is the same of the frame 0 and put here. So we have like a middle ground here, a middle with the same, exactly same. I will place here. So we have like in the middle, like the first pose. And I will copy this and put in the middle again here. So we have something like this. Of course, when I am copying and pasting, this will happen. This is happening because I am copying from the 30 frame, and from here I don't have more interpolation. So when I paste it, it creates like a linear interpolation, but it's not a problem. I can select everything and make it back and make it more similar. Okay, now we have this up and down movement. We can use here a very cool feature of the newest versions of Spine that came with the new graph. There is separating the X and the Y. We can create like offsets between them. If I am creating deformation on both axes to keep the volume of the character, something like this, I can create like an offset between the X and Y. If you notice now, it's just up and down movement. By creating an offset on 2 separated axes, it gives me like a round movement. It's not up and down anymore. You can see there is more deformation here. And of course, you need to test which of the axes comes first. So you can have different effects here. Like here is like the weight is coming from the top to the bottom. And if I invert it here on the timeline, it will look like the opposite. It will look like it's bouncing. And this, I prefer this, but it's up to you. And from here, I like to create animation from the action line first, from the core of the character, that is the hips and the spine. From these parts, you can create like very interesting action lines. We will talk about that on the Spinemation course that treats like more in-depth aspects of the animation. Start animating from the hip up to the head. Usually it is a workflow that works very well for characters. So I started here with the base of the spine and created this kind of round movement. And from here, I can start adding more rotations up to the head, and then making the shoulders and the arms react to that. We are creating a dance, so it makes sense that we animate this side to side. And it's rare for me. I don't like to create like animation like together. In some cases, yes, I have a technique for tails and hair that I animate together groups of bones and work not on the automatic offset. I like to craft thinking about the weight of the bone inside of the hierarchy. This kind of techniques I would like to teach you how to look at it, considering like real life stuff like weight, shifting of weight, how the chains of bones or chains of any kind of objects works in real life. If you understand the principle behind the physics, you can transfer this from real world to the computer and you can have a much more believable animation. Even if it is like stylized animation, like cartoony, they are stylized. They are like deforming, extremely deforming with exaggeration, but they are all based on real life principles. So understanding the mechanics of how things works helps you to transfer your knowledge to the computer and create like a really believable and really pleasant to watch animations. I don't like to work always together and then apply the offset because it's very everybody does that, and you doesn't take in consideration the weight of each part that is attached to that bone. That's why I like to keep them separated. I can start, of course, I can start animating together, but I will, after this, I will take bone by bone and see how they are behaving based on their parent. So it's always from the child to the parent. See what the parent is doing and applying to the child, making it react according to the parent's movement. It's very useful. So here, I don't have a rotation here yet. I can create it, of course. But let's do how I like to do, like bone by bone. So let me see how I will approach here. I have now up and down. So let's add some rotations to it. I have an interval of 30 frames. So let's consider 10. And rotate this a little bit. Let's transfer this keyframe to 20 to reach the other side. So the shifting now is like 10 frames. It's a loop. So the movement that stops here should follow from here. This part, maybe it is too fast now. What I need to do is create like a balanced interval, considering that this part and this part is an interval like this one. It maybe sounds abstract, but once you understand that, it's very powerful. It's a very powerful workflow. So this is the beauty of the newest versions of Spine, the graphs. I really like to work here. I used to do the polishing at the end, but sometimes like a small and quick animation like we are doing here, I like to do the polishing along with the animation so I can visualize how it is working and if it is working, and how I can tweak the parameters to make it work. So now I have like a basic movement with rotation. I will turn it down a little bit. So it's not too much at the base, because the base is supposed to be heavier. And as far as we are from the base, the lighter the things become. So let's put a very small rotation here. And from here, we will start reacting to the rotation here. The first part, I am going to the left. and then change direction. So maybe since I have this, if I also isolate the rotation here, you can see, oh, this is the graph, sorry. I have to sync the graph and the dope sheet so I can see the same parameters here. If I isolate rotation, you can see I have this interval split in 3 parts. Animating chains of bones overlapping and with follow through. Usually you will find patterns that are the timeline divided by 3 or by 2. So in this case, I have this bone coming left, change direction, and then I can make it react here. And then because it will change direction again, and then I can make this smoother, and I will create like 2 movements that will match one another. So one by creating this 3 interval, and the second one by splitting the timeline in 2. So you can start having an idea of how fluent the movement will be. So the last one, I will make it react to what's happening here. So this one was animated based on what's happening here. This one will be animated based on what's happening here. I am always considering the parent of the bone. So let's see what's happening here. The bone is going to the left and change direction. So when it's going to the left, since this is very lighter than the base, I will drag it a little bit on the opposite of the movement. That means if the bones are going left, I will drag it right to create like an illusion of resistance. Physical resistance. So it drags a little bit, and when it changes direction, start going to the right, I will drag on the opposite way. So it will change direction, and then it will change direction again. And I will drag it again a little bit. In the end, you need to check what's happening, because this is the theory, but in the end you have to make it follow like a loop. So you have to check what's happening on your graph. It's not only on your keyframes. By using this technique, it means that you need to check all the time what's happening on your graph and adapt. You have to adapt to what's happening on the viewport. So here we have a breaking on the movement. So probably we will need to fix this by make the curve like have a continuation here. And we can do that by offsetting this curve. So let's make this drag maybe a little bit slower. Bring it here so it suggests a continuation here. So we can polish that. First, let's see if the movement is making sense, and it is. And then we can take a closer look here and adjust our keys. If you think after adjusting, you will notice that like we don't really need this key here. We can like delete it because it's like in the middle of the trajectory of the curve. So you can clean it up front, because you know it will not make a difference because it was already on the same trajectory that the curve has now. It doesn't make a difference. What makes a difference here is to have like a very smooth curve. When you have a smooth curve, that means that your movement here is also smooth. And then you have like a very cool dance. Of course, if you want to make it bigger, larger, you can work on your graphs to make it more wide, pushing the amplitude of the movement. or bringing it down. So as you move the points, you will see your character reacting here. So more turn down, more curves. Just make sure that the curve that you have at the end will match the curve that you have here in the continuation of the movement. And then your character will be it will have like a very pleasant and smooth animation. So from here, since I have the core line animated, I will start going to the extremes. So the first extreme that I have here is the shoulder. Usually I don't like to make it symmetrical. This is very boring, like, because it's symmetrical, but if you create like some poses, it gives you another impression. You can craft like your intention. You can craft like emotions and more personality. But here, because we are doing this very quick exercise, I will keep it symmetrical. And then I will add a little bit of offset between the parts. I will use here the same idea, that is dragging according to the movement, according to what's happening on the parent bone. I have here the bone like change direction, and then after change direction, I will always drag the movement. So I will have again, if you notice, a 3-part timeline. It's split in 3 parts. Let me check the Bezier. Then I will isolate each one to check the continuation of the loop. When you have like the curve very well polished, the movement here is like guaranteed 100% that you have like a very nice movement. So now that I have both animated, I can create like a small offset. I can do that and readjust the curves here. Most of the time you have many techniques to work on this. I can do that like just dragging, and you have some kind of offset here. I can create offsets using the handles, because right now I have the bottom of the curve and the top of the curve here. But if I manage these Beziers, I can't like transfer the bottom of the curve, in this case to the front, and in this case to the back. So the key is not at the top of the curve anymore. It is kind of a different position. So this is just different techniques of creating offsets without changing your key position on the timeline. So this is another technique. And of course, if you are not happy with everything, you can create like the regular offset. All of them works perfect. Let's create like a very small, but let's create without change the keys. Let's keep it like this. Let's make it more wide, the amplitude, and fix the curves. Alright, it is like already different one from another. And last part is the top of the head, the ears or the arms if you prefer. And I will work on them separated, because from here I have one parent and one child. Here I have 2 childs, but they are connected to one single parent. From here I will go separate first this part and then second this part. Alright, so here, let's see, it's going down a bit and then go to the left. I can drag it by rotating that, and then it changed direction, and I bring it back a little bit. So as I told you before, when you are on the base you are very heavy. When you are on the extremes you are very light. So with this principle, I can make most of the overlap and follow throughs. Looks very well. So here again, I have like a weird movement happening here. That's because of this part. That's not flowing very well. So now I have a very good continuation of the loop. So let's do this part now. Same thing, it's going to the left. I will drag it to the right a little bit. And then it's going down and up. Change direction. I will do the opposite. And of course, you can select everything. The Bezier again, it will correct some of the Beziers. You have an option to correct the extremes. Actually, the next keyframe that is using this presets. You can use them on both extremes, but it's not 100% guaranteed that they will match. So it's always good if you take a look and see if they are really flowing here. So now I have like, you see how much the offsets influenced these parts. So now you have completely different movements. That's why I want to animate them separated. Now on this part that I have 3 bonds chain, I will start with the first 2 bonds, and then for the tip of the chain, the final bond, I will go individual. Using the same principle, it's going down, so I will drag it up. Then it changes direction, I will drag it down. Then they will go down again, I will drag it up again. And then let's see what's happening here on the curves. Let's isolate them. It will happen the same thing that happens before with this bone, if I'm not mistaken, or this bone. I think this bone. It will happen the same thing. So let's fix it here. Let's see where is easier to keep the movement flowing. So probably this keyframe needs to be changed here to make the curve flows better. And then again, maybe we can delete this so it will create like a better flow. Let's see how it is now. Yeah, we don't have the broken part anymore. So let's do the same for this part. Bring this down. Let's delete it actually. Adjust the curves. And let's create an offset by bring this here. This keyframe away from this. This is on the frame 13, I guess. This is on the frame 7. So it will create a difference between them. Still, there is something broken in the movement. So let's see if we can find what it is. It's better now. It was this keyframe. And now we can go to the tip. And I will use the same principle. Let's keep it like this. Change in direction. And then go in again. You can see here that is pretty much resolved. It's just a matter of making the curve flows better. You see? Beautiful movement here. Beautiful. And it was not hard to craft. So let's do the same, this part. All right, we have a flowing movement, and now let's add to the tip like this. You have more freedom to animate the tip of the chain because it's very light. So it will have more keyframes. It doesn't obey the same principle of like splitting in 3 parts or splitting in 2 parts. The tip, it's always more chaotic. So you have very different animation depending on how you are understanding what's happening with the parent bone. So here, let's drag it up. And let's keep it flowing. No, maybe it will be better like this. Otherwise, it will break the curve. So let's keep it more subtle here. Maybe more exaggeration. This deformity here along the descending part, and have a better continuation here. Yeah, now it's very soft. Maybe it's a little bit exaggerated here. We can compensate that by working this one, by bringing it down a little bit. And I have to fix the curve here. It's just polishing now. But you can see we have a very chill dance. Very nice. Very smooth. And I always keep this for the last part because the 3D, it will look nice if the rest of animation is nice. Some people start with the 3D controllers because they want to see that beautiful effect happening, but they are going too early to the prize. So the core animation, the really good foundations of animations, they are crafted before. They need to be solid, like we did here, from the hips to the spine, and then go to the extremes. Now I will add the 3D effect as that beautiful last pass that will add to the animation. But we have already a good animation, beautiful animation happening. And the 3D part is just like to make it from great to excellent, you know? Keep that in mind. Don't try to go too early for the end of the process. Try first to build a solid foundation, and then you go adding over that. And I guarantee you that this will make your animation stand out from other animations because you are building over a very solid ground, and then you have not the risk of your castle like fall apart in the end. So let's go to the 3D. The same way, we have to use some logic to animate it. We have to observe what's happening with the shape and the volumes of the character, because 3D is like a manipulation of this volume. So if you do that like random, it will look 3D, still look 3D, but it looks like there's something off. So let's analyze here what's happening. First, we have our character going to the left, and then up and left. Then the volume settles a little bit when it changes direction. To add 3D here, maybe we can use like the same logic. When it goes to the left, I drag it a little bit to the right, and then it changes direction. I can do like a big movement to the left, and then let it settle to start going to the right again. Let's isolate this. Let's separate the dimensions, the axis. And then let's fix the curves. You can isolate them here. And then polish first the extremes. And let's check what's happening on this axis, the x-axis. So it's the up and down axis. To make sure that the curve is flowing nicely. And maybe here we can create some offsets as well. Maybe we can delete this one to make it easier to manage. All right. And then you have like a cool 3D effect, but it's not like the star of the show. It is adding to our animation a lot, but it's not like complicating this stuff. So that's why this rig is very simple, because I want you to focus on the animation, not on the rigging part, not solving problems with constraints and a lot of complicated stuff. So we will get there as we got more experience, but I wanted to teach you the animation, the foundations, the solid stuff that you can build like a career. You can build a very good portfolio. You can build like beautiful animation. So that's what I want to teach you on the Spinemation course. Really good animation. And together we will start exploring the tools that Spine have to help you with that. So this is it for this rig. As you saw it, it's not a matter of making it complicated, but creating relationships and trying to understand how things works. I hope you like it. If you are not yet subscribed, go to spinemation.com, and there you have a form that you put your email and you join the newsletter, a packet with updates and recommendations and some animation tips and contents like that, like free rigs. And soon we'll have like live streams and Q&As, and I will start doing more tutorials for the YouTube channel. Also follow me on my Instagram, my Twitter, or LinkedIn. I'm always there. I'm posting stuff, sharing content, animation content. Show me what you are doing with the rig. It will be really nice to check. And maybe we can have a chat and I can help you with something else. All right? Thank you for everything. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye.